Do you tire of playing the hero? Do you wish to unleash mayhem, carnage, havoc? Do you want to be the villain of the story? Then Villainous is the game for you! So, in this game, Villainous, you are playing villains from Disney franchises. In the base game, you can play as Jafar, the scheming sultan from Agrabah. You can play as Captain Hook, the handless captain who is always trying to find Peter Pan. You can play as Ursula, the sea witch, who, just wants to be powerful. You can play as the Queen of Hearts, looking to lop people's heads for disobedience, or anything else really. You can be Maleficent, who honestly should have just been invited to the party. Or you can play as Prince John, the greedy brother of King Richard, who really just wants more money, which kind of goes against Robin Hood's whole thing. So in this game, you pick one of these characters, and it's your job to basically turn back time and make their movies come out the way in which they desired. We'll go through each one and kind of explain their goals in this game, and we'll kind of explain how you set this game up and also how you win. First thing we're going to explain is setup. It depends on who you get as to how the game is set up. Now, you may see other games out there, and those are expansions. They can be played alone as well. However, we are going off the base 6, which came out first. First off, we're going to look at is Jafar. So in this game, each player, once they've decided on which character they want to take, takes one of these boards, a player mover piece that matches the character. So Jafar's sort of looks like his staff that he has. They also take this little cheat book. This book will probably save your life in this game. Because in this book, it explains what a lot of your cards are, the cards you're really looking for, and how to win the game for your character. So this book opens up and has 4 different locations in which you can travel to. Now also, you will take the corresponding 2 decks that match the character. Each character has 2 decks. One is a fate deck, or a hero deck, and the other one is cards for the villain themselves. You'll take both of these decks. If you're choosing this character, you'll shuffle them up and place them both somewhere near your playing area. You will deal 4 cards to start. Okay. If you see this lock symbol on your board, that means that this area is locked. What that means is you cannot travel there. For setup, each character takes their decks, they take a board, they take their player piece, and they take their little cheat book here, that villain guide as it is. Each player will also take one of these villain objectives / action symbols guides. This explains what all of the symbols on the boards mean. However, we're going to go through each of them and explain them. So, first thing is, these are power. This is power chips, is what these are. This is sort of the currency of the game. They are the trading chips of this game. So if you go to any area on your board that has their symbol, that has a number, then you get that many of power. So for instance, Jafar, if he moved here, he can get 3 power. So any of these that have the little rectangle with an arrow pointing up means you can play a card either onto your board or depending on what the different cards do. We'll get into the cards in a minute. Next thing is activate. Certain cards have activation abilities, which means in order to do what is on the bottom of the card, you have to have activate action on your board and be using that. Next thing are fate. That is the storm cloud, which you might recognize from Hercules. And what that means is you will play that. So let's say someone else played it on Jafar. Then they would pick up the top 2 cards of his fate deck, look at them, decide which one is worse for him, and then play it onto the board. There's another action, which is a move an item or ally card. Some of the people need items or allies in certain areas, and that's what that's for. Next thing is move a hero. There are certain reasons why you need to move heroes. Ursula has a big playing factor into that, I know. So does Captain Hook in moving Peter Pan to the Jolly Roger. Next thing is vanquish. In this, you can use your allies to combat with the heroes in order to get them off your board. And that's very important in this game. And basically using that vanquish action means you can do that. And the last one is discard cards. This symbol allows you to get rid of cards, which is very important in this game because there are certain cards that are integral to find in your villain deck in order to get things done. Like, for instance, with Jafar, you need to get to the Cave of Wonders. But in order to find that, you have to play a card that has scarabs on it, just like in the movie. But discard cards, you can get rid of as many cards as you want, but you all are only going to draw back to 4 at the end of your turn. So it's good to recycle through your cards, especially if you're looking for something in particular. That's what all the actions on the board do. Now we'll kind of explain the cards and what they are and what they do, using Jafar as a point of reference. I pulled a couple of different cards just to show as examples for this. There are things called effects, which effects have one-time use and then they go away for the most part. For instance, this is scrying for Jafar. Choose either an item or ally, reveal cards from your deck until you reveal a card of that type, put that card into your hand, discard the rest. So you would pay the cost. Each of these cards has a cost value, which is in the top left corner. For instance, to play scrying, it costs 1 power, which I would pay back to the bank. I would pay that, and then I would do what the card says, which says choose either an item or ally, and reveal cards until I find one. I'll say an item. And the first one it comes out is an item. So I would get to take this and put it into my hand. This card would go into my discard pile. That's an example of an effect card. The effects do a wide variety of things. We would be here all day if I went through every single effect card in the game. I'll show you ally next. Looking at my board here, you can see that there's 2 sections across the top and bottom. Whenever someone fates you, so whenever a hero is played onto your board, they go across the top section here and cover up 2 of your options at that location, which can be extremely effective in preventing you from doing whatever it is you're trying to do. However, on the bottom part here, you see there's a little section here to which you can add your allies or items. So for instance, let's say I placed Palace Guard here. He has a cost of 1. I would pay that out of my power. And then down here on the bottom left, there's a number. In this case, it's a number 2, which means that he has a strength value of 2. Now, heroes also have a strength value in the bottom left. For instance, I have Aladdin here, who has 4. So right now, Palace Guard cannot take Aladdin alone. However, if he had help, maybe from Scimitar, which is an item, I would give it to an ally, and that would give him a +1 to his strength, which is still not enough to take on Aladdin. However, if I had another ally here, let's say I had Iago here at the same location, then that would make it to 4. Together, those 4 would equal or exceed Aladdin's strength value and would be enough to conquer him. So I would go to a place that had a vanquish action, and I would clear the board of everyone. All of this would go away, and Aladdin would go away, opening up this space to be used once more. Down here, you can see this symbol. That's an activation ability. So if I went to a location that had an activation ability, I could activate it. And what that says is pay 1 power, which I would pay from here, and then I can move Iago and an item at this location to an adjacent or unlocked location. For example, on this one, that's specifically good for finding the magic lamp and bringing it back to Sultan's Palace, which is part of the win condition of Jafar. Most of his cards are working towards that goal, although there's, like I said, a lot of deterrents, including heroes, that can really hinder that from happening. And then the next type of card I want to show you is called a condition card. These are cards that are played between turns when other people hit certain parameters. So, for instance, I have the card Deception for Jafar. What this card says is, during their turn, if another player has 2 or more items in their realm, you may play Deception. Reveal and play 1 card from that player's fate deck. So basically I would play that, and I would go to their fate deck and flip 1 card to play onto their board automatically. So that's an example of some of the cards that could be in the game. And like I said, there's a bunch of different cards. All of them do different things, and it's impossible to explain them all. During our playthrough, we will explain as much as we can the cards that come across. So whenever you're setting up your game, you're going to give out power according to whoever the starting player is. Whoever starts the game gets 0 power. Whoever goes next gets 1 power, and whoever goes 3rd and 4th gets 2 power. In a 5 or 6 player game, you would get 3 power for being 5th or 6th. You will set your player marker on the leftmost location, in which case the Sultan's Palace here for Jafar, and place any locks on the board if needed. As far as play goes, on your turn, you're going to move your player marker to another location in the realm. You have to move to a different location. You can move to any of them that are not locked. However, you do have to move. So, for instance, on this one, you can move to either Streets of Agrabah, or you can move to Oasis. So, for instance, let's just move to Oasis here, and then you perform everything that is on the location that you want. You can choose not to perform things, especially if you're trying to save up power for other things. So for here, I would get 3 power. I could play 2 cards if I wanted to, and I could activate, which currently I have nothing to activate, so it's not really necessarily in my best interest. So, it's an example of a turn. So yeah, now we'll go through the winning objectives on each of these characters and how to win with them. And some of them are a little more complicated than others. Some of them are pretty easy. If you want to look at the easiest to play, I would say probably Prince John. What Prince John needs to get 20 power. That's it. That's all you got to remember. You just need to get 20 power however you can. Basically, you need to start your turn with 20 power. So you'll get 20 power, go around until it's back to your turn. If you start your turn with it, you win the game. Basically, with Maleficent, you need to start your turn with a curse at each location. Throughout her drawing deck, there are a number of different types of curses, and you just need to have them at each location in order to win. For Jafar, you need to start your turn with the lamp at the Sultan's Palace and have Genie underneath your control, which, like I said, each of the little booklets that come with it kind of explain some of the cards that are useful for that. Hypnotize is a good one for Genie. Might be the only way to get him under your control. Captain Hook, you need to unlock the Hangman's Tree by finding the map that locates it. You need to defeat Peter Pan at the Jolly Roger. Ursula, one of the more complicated ones, I would say. While every other villain has allies in which they use to attack heroes with, Ursula does not. What Ursula has are contracts. She signs everyone to contracts and sends those heroes to different locations to which their contracts are fulfilled and they are killed off. However, what she needs to do for her turn, Ursula needs to start her turn with the trident and the crown at Ursula's lair. If she does that, then she wins the game. Those are both cards that are within her draw deck. And last, but certainly not least, and don't let her hear that she was last, is the Queen of Hearts. So, for the Queen of Hearts, she needs to have a wicket at each location, which she has guard cards which she can turn into wickets and have them at each location ready to go. When she has wickets at each location, then she will play the Take the Shot card, and what that means is she's going to flip over the top 5 cards of your deck, and if their total cost is less than strength of all your wickets, you win the game. Hers is a little weirder, but not necessarily harder, just a bit stranger. Also, one of the cool effects of the Queen of Hearts deck is she has heroes that will shrink and enlarge, and these are very important. Let's say we had the Mad Hatter here. Normally they only cover up 2 spaces. However, if the hero was shrunk, then he would only cover up 1 space by moving him slightly. However, if he's enlarged, much like in the story, then he covers up 3 locations, one at the neighboring location. So that's something that comes into effect with the Queen of Hearts, and her heroes can really be nuisances in that aspect because they're constantly shrinking sizes and getting bigger and smaller. I think I've kind of gone through each one. Like I said, there's a lot of different cards and a lot of different effects that happen in the game. Too much to explain in one video. We would be here all day. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, on a normal turn, what you'll do is you'll move to a location, do everything there that you can / want to, and then your turn ends, and you will draw up to 4 cards into your deck, into your hand from your deck, and then play moves to the next player. They do the same thing. Play moves to the next. Keeps going around until finally someone has hit their win condition. In the case of Captain Hook or the Queen of Hearts, the game is automatically just over like that. In the case of the other 4, another turn goes around in which people probably will try to fate them to prevent them from maintaining their win condition, and that ends the game. At that point, you have your winner. Thank you for joining us for this how to play Villainous. It is a bit heavier. It's probably the heaviest game we've played so far on the channel, especially since each character interacts and plays differently depending on who you're choosing. If you have any questions about anything in the game, any sort of weird combinations that came up, please sound off. We'll do our best that we can to help you out with any sort of issues you might have come across. But hopefully that's enough for you to be able to play it on your own and take on the role one of Disney's most fearsome villains. Because who wants to be a good guy when you can be a villain? See you next time.